The forbidden step. The alien girl's name was Lyra. She was young, curious, and restless. For as long as she could remember, her elders had told her one simple rule: never go near the humans. The colony repeated this warning every single day. Humans were dangerous. Humans were ruthless. Humans could destroy everything with only their hands and their strange weapons. Lyra listened. She nodded. She obeyed, at least on the surface. But inside her heart, questions grew like fire. Why are humans so dangerous? Why are we never allowed to see them? Every time she asked, the elders gave the same answer. Because humans bring chaos. But no one explained what chaos really meant. To Lyra, it only sounded like fear. And fear, in her mind, was never a good enough reason to keep people apart. That night, the stars burned bright above the alien colony. The moons cast silver light on the walls that separated them from the human settlement not far away. Everyone was asleep. Silence ruled the air, but Lyra's eyes refused to close. Her chest felt heavy, her thoughts louder than ever. What if the humans are not monsters? She whispered to herself. The thought grew stronger. Her feet moved without her full control. She stepped out of her home, quiet as a shadow. She looked left, then right. No guard was watching. The path was open. Her heart pounded, but her legs carried her forward. She crossed the first gate, then the second. Every step felt like betrayal, but also like freedom. She had entered the zone the elders called the forbidden step, a place no alien dared to cross. The air felt different here, colder, sharper. The sound of crickets echoed, mixed with distant human voices. Lyra crouched behind a stone wall and peeked. For the first time in her life, she saw them. Humans. They were taller than she imagined, broad in their shoulders, their skin pale in the moonlight. They sat around a fire, speaking in a language she barely understood, their laughter rising like sparks in the night. Weapons rested beside them, strange black machines that hummed with deadly power. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. So this is what they look like. Her eyes widened as she studied them. They were not monsters. They looked almost ordinary, even calm. One of them passed food to another, breaking bread in half and sharing it. She blinked. Monsters did not share food. Monsters did not laugh so freely. For a moment, she almost stepped closer. But then the fire cracked loudly, and the humans looked around. Panic shot through her chest. She ducked back behind the stone, heart racing so fast she thought it might explode. She pressed her hands against the ground, trying to silence her breathing. Had they seen her? The question stabbed her mind. Minutes passed. The humans returned to their talk. Lyra's fear slowly faded into excitement again. She felt alive in a way she had never known before. She thought about going back to her colony, telling everyone the truth. The humans are not beasts. They are people just like us. But deep inside, another voice whispered, "Stay. Watch longer. Learn more." Her curiosity chained her to the spot. She leaned forward once again, her sharp alien eyes tracing every detail, the fire, the armor, the way humans moved their hands while speaking. She wondered what their words meant. She wondered what their lives were like. Suddenly, the crack of a twig broke the air. Lyra froze. She turned her head slowly, and her blood ran cold. One of the humans was no longer by the fire. He was standing in the shadows, looking directly at her. Their eyes met. The man was tall, his face half hidden by the night, but his stare was sharp and unshaken. He did not shout. He did not call the others. Instead, he took one slow step toward her. Lyra's heart thudded so hard she felt it in her throat. Her legs begged her to run, but her pride forced her to stay. She had defied the rules already. To run now would mean she admitted she was wrong. The human raised a hand, not with a weapon, but in a gesture of calm. His voice was deep, steady. "See you," he said. Lyra did not understand all the words, but she understood the tone. It was not the tone of a killer. It was not the tone of a monster. It was the tone of someone who had caught a child sneaking into danger. Her hands trembled. She had crossed the line. She had taken the forbidden step, and now there was no turning back. That night under the cold stars, Lyra stood face to face with the truth her people had always feared. Humans were not myths. They were not shadows. They were real, and one of them had found her. Her life would never be the same again. The encounter, Lyra could not move. Her feet were frozen. Her breath caught in her chest. The human's eyes glowed faintly in the firelight, sharp yet calm, curious yet dangerous. She had heard so many stories about humans, but none of those stories had prepared her for this moment. The human took another step toward her. His boots pressed against the dry ground, each sound echoing like thunder in her ears. Lyra wanted to run, but something in his presence held her still. It wasn't fear alone. It was power. "Why are you here?" the human asked. The words were simple, clear. Lyra did not understand every part, but she caught the meaning. His tone was not cruel. It was not the roar of a beast. It was steady, firm, like a teacher questioning a student. Lyra's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her people had forbidden her to speak to humans. But now, in this moment, silence felt even more dangerous. I only wanted to see," she whispered in her own tongue, her voice trembling. The human tilted his head. He did not understand her language fully, but the fear in her tone was plain. His eyes narrowed. "You should not be here," he said. His voice was not loud, but the weight of it pressed against her like stone. Lyra's pride sparked. She had crossed the forbidden step. She had come here to learn, not to crawl away in shame. With a shaky breath, she lifted her chin and stared back. "I am not afraid of you," she said in her own tongue, her alien accent carrying a stubborn rhythm. The human's expression shifted. For a heartbeat, it almost seemed like he smiled. Not a friendly smile, but the kind of smile one gives when amused by a child's boldness. "Not afraid?" he repeated slowly, as if testing her words. He stepped closer, close enough that she could see the scars on his cheek, the roughness of his hands, the sharpness of his jaw. "Then you are a fool." Lyra's pride flared hotter. Fool? No one had ever dared to call her that. She stepped out from behind the stone, no longer hiding. The fire from the human camp painted her skin in pale light. The other humans at the fire had not yet noticed. They laughed, ate, and talked, their backs turned. Only this one soldier saw her, and he seemed in no rush to alarm the others. For a long moment they simply stared at each other. Finally, the human lowered his hand. He did not draw his weapon. Instead, he gestured back toward the alien colony's direction. "Go back," he ordered. His tone was final, like the closing of a door. But Lyra shook her head. "No." The human's eyes hardened. His patience thinned like glass about to crack. "You don't understand the danger," he said. "And you don't understand me," she replied, her words trembling but defiant. For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. Then, with sudden movement, the human stepped forward and grabbed her wrist. His grip was strong, firm, but not cruel. Lyra gasped, shocked at his touch. No alien had ever touched a human before, not like this. Her first instinct was to pull away, but his hold was unbreakable. His strength was unlike anything she had ever felt. He was not squeezing hard enough to hurt, but she could feel the raw power inside him, controlled, measured, like a storm, waiting behind stone walls. "You are reckless," he said. Lyra's eyes widened. She understood that word. Reckless. Yes, she had been called that before, by her own people, but hearing it from a human made it sting sharper. "I wanted to see the truth," she whispered. The human's eyes searched hers, as if trying to decide if she was lying. Finally, he let go of her wrist. Her skin burned where his fingers had touched, not from pain but from the weight of the moment. "You think truth is a game," he said coldly, "but truth can kill you." Lyra swallowed hard. Her body trembled, but her spirit did not bend. She took one careful step closer, enough that the firelight reached her eyes. "Then teach me," she whispered. The human froze. He had expected fear. He had expected begging. But instead, this small alien girl, who had broken every rule of her, people now stood in front of him asking for the very thing she should not want. "Teach me." The fire crackled behind him. The sound of his companions laughing filled the air. But in this small circle of shadows, the world seemed to shrink to just the two of them. The soldier studied her for a long, heavy moment. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowed. Then he sighed. "You will regret those words," he said. Lyra felt her chest tighten, but she did not back away. She had already taken the forbidden step. She could not return empty. The human gave her one last look, then turned his head toward the dark forest that stretched beyond the camp. "Follow me," he said. Lyra blinked, shocked. Follow him? Into the night? Every instinct screamed for her to run back home, but her heart burned hotter than fear. Without another thought, she nodded, and so, side by side, alien and human, they stepped into the shadows of the unknown. What awaited her? There was not the gentle truth she imagined, but the harsh lesson of survival that only a human could give. The warning ignored, the night forest stretched endlessly before them. Shadows moved between the trees, and strange cries echoed in the distance. Lyra had never dared to step this far from her colony. Her people warned that the wild was cursed, that even the bravest warriors avoided its heart after dark. Yet here she was, walking beside a human soldier. His steps were steady, calm, as if the darkness belonged to him. His hand hovered near the strange weapon on his side, but his eyes stayed sharp, scanning the path ahead. Lyra tried to match his pace, but her heart raced faster with every sound. The silence between them felt heavy, until finally the soldier spoke. "You should not be here," he said again. His tone was flat, but not unkind. "This place is not for children." Lyra's pride burned at the word. "I am not a child," she whispered. The soldier glanced at her, his expression unreadable. "Then act like one who understands danger. Go back before it is too late." But Lyra shook her head. "No, I want to learn. I want to see why my people fear you." The soldier stopped walking. His boots pressed into the dirt as he turned toward her. The moonlight cut across his face, showing the scar that ran from his cheek to his jaw. His eyes were hard as steel. "You think this is a game?" he asked quietly. "Your curiosity will get you killed." Lyra's throat tightened, but she did not look away. "If truth means death, then I would rather die knowing than live in lies." For a long moment, silence fell. The human studied her, as if weighing her spirit against the world's cruelty. Then he let out a slow breath and shook his head. "Foolish," he muttered. But he kept walking, and Lyra followed. The forest thickened. Branches clawed at their clothes, roots twisted under their feet. Lyra stumbled more than once, catching herself before she fell. The soldier did not slow down for her. He moved like he knew every sound, every shadow. Finally, he raised a hand, signaling her to stop. She obeyed, crouching low. Ahead, glowing eyes peered between the trees, small, quick creatures circling in the dark. Lyra's blood ran cold. "What are they?" she whispered. "Hunters," he said simply. "Fast, silent. They kill in packs." Her breath caught. Her elders had spoken of such predators, but she had never believed the stories. Seeing them now, she felt the sharp sting of fear. The soldier turned his head toward her, his expression grave. "Stay behind me. Do not run no matter what happens. Running will make you prey." Lyra nodded quickly, but inside her pride still whispered, "I am not weak. I will not cower." The first creature darted forward, its fangs flashing. In an instant, the soldier raised his weapon. A burst of light cracked through the trees and the predator fell dead, smoke rising from its wound. Lyra gasped, her ears ringing from the sound. But the forest exploded with more glowing eyes. The pack had been waiting. The soldier moved fast, firing again and again, his stance unshaken. His face was calm, controlled, like a man who had lived this danger 1,000 times. Lyra, however, panicked. She stumbled backward, her legs shaking, her breath loud in her ears. She had told herself she was brave, that she was not afraid, but now the truth crashed over her like ice. She was small, fragile, and utterly unprepared. One of the hunters leaped past the soldier, aiming straight for her. Lyra screamed. She fell to the ground, raising her hands to block, knowing it would be useless. But before the beast reached her, the soldier spun, his arm flashing with a blade. Steel met flesh, and the predator fell inches from her face. Blood splattered across the dirt. Lyra's chest heaved, her pride shattered. She realized in that moment just how wrong she had been. When the last of the hunters fled into the shadows, silence returned to the forest. Smoke drifted from the soldier's weapon. He stood tall, his chest rising and falling slowly, his eyes scanning for more threats. Lyra struggled to her feet, her legs weak, her hands trembling. She could not meet his gaze. Shame burned inside her. "You see now," he said. His voice was quiet but heavy with meaning. "You would have been dead before the first scream left your lips." She lowered her head. I thought I was strong." He shook his head. "Strength without wisdom is weakness. You ignored my warning. That could have cost your life." Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She clenched her fists, forcing her voice steady. "Then teach me. Show me how not to be weak." The soldier studied her for a long moment, his face unreadable. Finally, he nodded once. "Very well. But understand this. Lessons are not gentle. They are earned with pain. If you truly want to learn, you must be ready to suffer." Lyra's breath caught. Fear pressed against her, but her pride pushed harder. She raised her chin and met his gaze. "I am ready." The soldier turned back toward the path, his figure tall against the moonlit forest. "We will see," he said. "We will see." And so deeper into the night, the alien girl followed the human soldier, her heart torn between fear and defiance. She had ignored his warning, and now she would face the lesson he promised. The harsh lesson begins. The forest grew darker as the moon slid behind the clouds. Every sound seemed louder, branches cracking, insects buzzing, the faint howl of predators somewhere far away. Lyra followed the soldier closely now. Her earlier pride had been shaken, but her heart still burned with stubborn fire. The soldier walked with calm steps as if the wild belonged to him. His shoulders did not tense, his eyes did not flicker with fear. He was steady, like a stone in a storm. Lyra could not understand how a human could be so unshaken in a place that made her bones tremble. Finally, he stopped near a wide clearing. The grass there was tall, bending in the night wind. He turned to her, his expression sharp. "Here," he said. Lyra frowned. "Here? For what?" The soldier dropped his pack on the ground and began setting a small fire. Sparks rose, catching on dry leaves until a flame flickered between them. His face glowed in the firelight as he looked at her. "You want to learn," he said. "Then you will begin here. Lesson 1. Survival." Lyra's chest tightened. "Survival?" "Yes," he answered firmly. "You dream of strength, but strength means nothing if you cannot live one night in the wild. Tonight you will learn to fight, to eat, to last. No elders, no colony rules. Only this forest, and me." Lyra swallowed. She wanted to argue, to say she was not ready, but those words felt like weakness. She straightened her back and nodded. "Good," the soldier said. "Then let us begin." The first task was fire. The soldier handed her a bundle of sticks and stones. "Make it burn," he said. Lyra blinked. "But you already made fire." He cut her off. "That is mine. You will make your own." She hesitated, then knelt beside the grass. Her hands fumbled with the sticks. She struck them together, again and again, but nothing happened. The sparks died before touching the leaves. Her arms grew sore, her breath short. Frustration burned hotter than the sticks in her hands. The soldier stood, silently watching, his face calm but stern. Finally, Lyra threw the sticks aside. "It's useless," she snapped. The soldier's voice was cold. "Useless, no. You are weak. Weak hands, weak patience. Fire answers only to those who do not quit." His words stung. She wanted to shout back, but instead she bit her lip, swallowed her pride, and tried again. This time she slowed her hands, focusing on the rhythm instead of rushing. A small spark glowed, then caught. The flame rose weakly, but alive. Her eyes widened. For the first time she had made fire. The soldier nodded once. "Better. Remember this. Survival belongs to the patient, not the proud." The second task came quickly. The soldier picked up a spear he had crafted from a branch. He tossed it to her. "Now hunt." "Hunt?" Lyra's hands shook as she caught the weapon. He pointed toward the tall grass. "Something small moves there. If you do not eat, you will starve. Kill it." Lyra froze. She had never killed anything before. Her colony fed on prepared meals, already gathered and cleaned. She stared at the grass, where faint rustling betrayed some creature's movement. Her throat tightened. I can't." The soldier's eyes hardened. "Then you will starve, and you will die. Out here, no one feeds the foolish." His words stabbed deeper than any blade. She clenched the spear, tighter. Her heart hammered as she stepped forward. The grass rustled again and she lunged. The tip struck the ground clumsily, missing the creature. A small alien rabbit darted away. She dropped to her knees, frustrated tears stinging her eyes. "I told you I can't." The soldier's voice cut through her despair. "Can't is the word of the dead." He stepped behind her, gripping her hands. His large hands guided hers on the spear. "You are not weak because you miss. You are weak because you quit." Again, they moved together, slow and steady. Another rustle in the grass. Lyra's arms trembled, but the soldier steadied them. She thrust again, this time with balance. The spear struck true. The rabbit fell. Lyra stared at the lifeless body, her stomach twisting. She had killed. Guilt and triumph clashed inside her chest. The soldier's voice was low. "This is survival. Respect it or the forest will eat you instead." Hours passed. Lyra's body grew sore, her hands blistered, her mind exhausted. The soldier never raised his voice, but his lessons were harder than any punishment her colony had ever given. She failed again and again. But each time he forced her to rise to try once more. By the time dawn's light touched the trees, she was dirty, bruised and trembling with fatigue. Yet within her a small flame of pride glowed. She had not quit. The soldier studied her as the sun rose. His face remained stern, but his eyes softened slightly. "You have taken the first step," he said. "But remember, this was only a lesson. The wild does not care about your pride, and neither do I. You want truth? Truth is pain, and pain is the only teacher worth trusting." Lyra met his gaze, her body weak but her spirit burning. "Then I will learn." The soldier turned away, his silhouette tall against the rising sun. "We will see," he said. And as Lyra followed him deeper into the forest, she realized she had begun a path that could never be undone. The harsh lesson had only just begun. The pain of truth. The sun was rising, and its pale light cut through the forest shadows. Lyra walked behind the human soldier, her legs heavy, her body aching. Her arms were scratched, her hands raw from holding the spear, and her stomach twisted with hunger. All night she had struggled. She had failed more times than she could count. And yet, she had also succeeded. Making fire, striking a kill, learning the rhythm of survival. Each task left a mark on her body, but the deepest wound was in her pride. Her people had always told her she was clever, bold, different. But in front of the human, All of that meant nothing. Compared to him, she was small, fragile, clumsy. The truth cut sharper than any blade. She was not strong. She was not prepared. This was the pain of truth. At last, the soldier stopped near a riverbank. The water shimmered with morning light, cool mist rising from its surface. He set down his pack and crouched beside the stream. "Drink," he ordered. Lyra knelt and cupped the water in her hands. The cold taste rushed down her throat, bringing relief to her dry tongue. But her relief did not last. The soldier's eyes stayed on her, watching, testing. "You are quiet," he said. Lyra lowered her gaze. I thought I was ready, but I am not." His expression hardened. "Now you begin to understand?" Her chest tightened. She hated the sting of his words because they were true. After they rested, the soldier rose again. He pointed to a steep ridge where jagged rocks cut the earth like blades. "Climb," he commanded. Lyra blinked. "Climb? Why?" "Because survival is not comfort," he said coldly. "If you fall, the rocks will teach you. If you reach the top, you will learn what strength feels like." Her stomach dropped. The ridge was tall, sharp, and merciless. Her arms still ached, her legs felt like stone, but she nodded and approached. The climb was harder than anything before. The rocks tore at her skin. Her arms shook with every pull. Halfway up, her foot slipped and her body nearly tumbled down. She caught herself at the last second, her fingers bleeding as they clung to the sharp edge. Fear screamed inside her mind. She looked down and saw how far she would fall. She froze. "Keep moving," the soldier's voice thundered from below. "I can't," she cried, her voice breaking. "Yes, you can," he barked. "Pain is not your enemy. Fear is. Let go of fear and climb." Tears blurred her vision. Her body screamed for rest. But something in his words struck her heart. Pain was not her enemy. It was the teacher. She gritted her teeth and pulled. One movement at a time, slow but steady. Her breath was ragged, her arms on fire, but she climbed higher until at last her hands touched the ridge's top. She dragged herself up and collapsed onto the flat stone. Her chest heaved. Her hands bled. But she had done it. From below, the soldier's voice reached her. "Good. Now you begin to earn your strength." By the time she climbed down, the day had grown warmer. The soldier handed her a strip of dried meat from his pack. She stared at it for a moment. It smelled strange, nothing like the soft meals from her colony, but hunger overpowered her hesitation. She chewed slowly, the tough texture making her jaw ache. The soldier watched. "It tastes bitter now," he said. "But when you learn to fight for every bite, food becomes sweeter than gold." Lyra nodded quietly. She was beginning to understand. As the day wore on, they continued deeper into the forest. The soldier gave her more tasks, crossing a stream without falling, carrying a heavy pack over uneven ground, building a shelter from branches. Each task pushed her past the limits she thought she had. And each time she failed, he made her rise, again. By the time the sun dipped low, her body was broken, her spirit frayed. Every step felt like knives under her feet. She wanted to collapse, to sleep for days. But when she looked at the soldier, still walking steady, still strong, she clenched her fists and forced herself to move. Because if he could endure, then so could she. That night, when they finally stopped, she sat by the fire with her head bowed. Her eyes burned with exhaustion. For the first time, she wanted to give up. The soldier sat across from her, silent for a long time. Then he spoke, his tone softer than before. "Now you see," he said, "your elders did not lie. They wanted to protect you. But protection is not strength. Rules will not save you when the world wants you dead. Only pain, only truth will carve strength into your bones." Lyra lifted her eyes to him. Her throat was dry, her voice trembling. "And if I can't bear it?" The soldier's gaze was steady. "Then you die. That is truth." The words cut her, but she did not look away. She understood now. This was no game. This was no dream. The rules of her people were not just chains. They were shields. She had thrown them aside, and now she felt the full weight of the world pressing down on her. The pain of truth was harsh. It left no mercy, no escape. But as she sat in the firelight, her body broken, her spirit scarred, she also felt something new flicker inside her, something small, fragile, but alive. It was not pride. It was not arrogance. It was resolve. Respect. The night stretched long and heavy, but morning finally came. Sunlight spilled through the canopy, painting the forest floor in shifting gold. Lyra opened her eyes with difficulty. Her body felt stiff, her muscles screaming from the day before. She tried to rise, but every joint resisted. Across the fire, the human soldier was already awake. He stood sharpening his blade, the sound of metal on stone clear and steady. He moved with the same energy as before, as if fatigue never touched him. Lyra pushed herself upright, wincing. How do you not break?" she whispered, her voice hoarse. The soldier glanced at her. "Because I was broken once, and I learned not to stay that way." His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken stories. Lyra lowered her gaze, ashamed of her weakness. That morning, he gave her another task. "You will carry the pack today," he said, tossing the heavy load toward her. She caught it awkwardly, nearly falling under the weight. The pack was filled with weapons, tools, and supplies. It felt like it would crush her small frame. I can't," she muttered before she could stop herself. The soldier's eyes narrowed. That word again. Can't. Every time you say it, you tell the world you are already dead. Lyra bit her lip. Shame burned her cheeks. She tightened the straps, straightened her back, and forced her legs to move. The pack felt like a mountain, but step by step she carried it. The soldier walked ahead, not slowing, not helping. But every so often he glanced back. And each time she staggered but did not fall, a small flicker of approval shone in his eyes. By midday they reached a rocky plateau. The sun beat down mercilessly, and Lyra's breath came in ragged gasps. She dropped the pack onto the ground, her body trembling. The soldier approached. For the first time he crouched to her level. "You are still standing," he said. His tone carried no mockery, only fact. "That is something your pride never gave you. You earned it." Lyra's eyes widened. He had not praised her before. His words struck deeper than any punishment, warming her chest with quiet strength. "Men, you respect me now?" she asked softly, unsure if she should even voice the question. The soldier studied her, his expression unreadable. At last, he gave a short nod. "You are not useless. That is enough for today." For Lyra, it felt like a victory greater than anything. That evening, they set camp again near a shallow cave. The soldier built the fire quickly, while Lyra gathered stones to block the wind. When she returned, he looked at her work and gave a curt nod. "Better," he said simply. She smiled faintly, pride glowing in her heart. But this pride felt different. Not the arrogance she carried before, but the quiet pride of effort. As they ate the food they had caught, Lyra studied the soldier. His scars, his steady hands, his unshaken eyes. She realized something. He was not harsh because he hated her. He was harsh because the world itself was harsh, and he was teaching her to survive it. For the first time, she felt respect, not only for him, but for the pain itself. Later that night, a storm rolled in. Rain lashed against the cave, wind howled through the trees. Lightning flashed and thunder shook the ground. Lyra shivered, hugging herself as the cold seeped in. The soldier removed his cloak and tossed it to her. She blinked in surprise. "But you will be cold," she said. He shook his head. "I've survived worse. You need it more." She wrapped the cloak around herself. It was heavy, smelling of iron and smoke, but it brought warmth. For the first time since stepping into the forest, she felt safe. Her eyes lifted to him. "Why help me if you think I'm a fool?" The soldier's gaze was steady, his voice calm. "Because even a fool can learn. And one day, you may be more than that." The words struck her harder than the storm. Her throat tightened, but she smiled faintly. By dawn, the storm passed. The world smelled of wet earth, fresh and clean. Lyra stepped outside the cave, her feet sinking into soft mud. She lifted her head, letting the first rays of sun touch her face. The soldier joined her, his arms crossed. "You survived another night," he said. She turned to him, her voice steady. "Not because I hid behind rules, not because I was protected, but because I learned." For the first time, the soldier's lips curved into the faintest smile. It was not mocking, not cruel. It was respect. "You are beginning to understand," he said. Lyra's chest swelled with quiet pride. She had faced hunger, pain, exhaustion, and fear, and still she stood. Her people's rules had tried to shield her, but it was the human who had shown her the truth. Strength was not given, it was earned. And in his eyes she had finally earned something far greater than survival. She had earned his respect. A new bond. The morning sky stretched wide and bright, painted with streaks of gold and red. The storm was gone, but its memory lingered in the damp air and broken branches. Lyra stepped out of the cave, her body sore, her clothes torn, but her spirit alive. She had survived. The human soldier walked beside her, silent as always. His sharp eyes scanned the trees, but this time Lyra did not feel like he was protecting her. Instead, it felt as though they were walking together, as two who had shared the same battle. For the first time she realized something. She did not fear him anymore. As they moved through the forest, Lyra's thoughts turned to her colony. She imagined the walls, the elders, the endless rules meant to keep her safe. If she returned now, what would she say? That humans were not monsters, that strength was not born in comfort but in struggle? Her chest tightened. They would never believe her. The soldier seemed to read her silence. "You think of home," he said. Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, but I am not the same anymore. If I return, they will not see me as I am now. They will see only the foolish girl who broke the rules." The soldier stopped walking. His gaze met hers, steady and unflinching. "Then do not live for their eyes. Live for your own." His words struck her deeper than any lesson before. By midday, they reached the border where the human territory met, the alien colony's lands. The line was invisible, marked only by fear and memory. Lyra's people said stepping across it meant death. Yet she had crossed it twice now, and returned alive. The soldier turned to her. "This is where our paths divide." Her heart twisted. The thought of leaving him, her harsh teacher, her silent guardian, filled her with a strange ache. She lowered her head. "Will I see you again?" His face remained unreadable, but his eyes softened. "Perhaps. The world is wide, but not endless." Lyra's throat tightened. She wanted to thank him, but the words felt too small for the truth inside her. So instead she bowed her head deeply, the way her people showed respect to their elders. The soldier blinked, surprised. For a moment, his lips curved into a faint smile. Before she could speak again, a sound broke the silence. Shouts, sharp and angry. Lyra's eyes widened. From the trees ahead, several alien warriors emerged, spears in hand, armor glinting, their faces twisted with rage. "Lyra!" One of them roared. "You broke the law, you walked with the human." Her stomach dropped. Fear clawed at her chest. The soldier stepped in front of her, his weapon already in hand. His stance was calm. "Ready. Stay behind me." "No." Lyra cried, grabbing his arm. She turned to her people, her voice trembling but strong. "Do not hurt him, he saved me." But the warriors ignored her, raising their spears. To them, a human was the enemy. A monster. The soldier's jaw tightened. He could fight. He could kill them if he wished. But Lyra knew. If he did, her people would never forgive, and the fragile truth she had discovered would shatter. Her heart raced. This was the moment to prove she had truly learned. She stepped forward, placing herself between the soldier and the warriors. Her voice rang out louder than she thought possible. "Stop," she shouted. "I broke the rules, I crossed the line, but I lived. I saw the truth. This human is no monster. He is my teacher, and I owe him my life." The warriors froze, shocked by her defiance. No alien had ever spoken this way, not against the elders, not in defense of a human. The soldier said nothing. He stood behind her, silent, his eyes watching. This was her battle now. Lyra's chest heaved, but she did not back down. "If you call me a traitor, then so be it. If you call me a fool, I will not deny it. But I will not let you call him a monster." The forest went quiet. The warriors exchanged uncertain looks. For the first time, their anger faltered. Finally, one elder warrior lowered his spear. His voice was rough, but less sharp. "You speak with boldness, girl. Perhaps too much. But you are alive, and that cannot be ignored." The others slowly lowered their weapons. The storm of violence faded into uneasy silence. Lyra's knees felt weak with relief. She glanced back at the soldier. His face was calm, but his eyes carried something new. Pride. The warriors ordered her to return to the colony. Lyra knew they would question her, perhaps punish her, but her heart no longer feared their judgment. She had faced the forest, the predators, the pain. She had faced the truth. As she walked away, she turned back one last time. The soldier stood where she had left him, tall and unshaken, watching her with steady eyes. Their gazes met, and in that silent exchange, something passed between them. Not words, not promises, but a bond forged in struggle, in pain, and in respect. Lyra smiled faintly. The human did not smile back, but his silence said enough. That night, within the walls of her colony, Lyra sat alone. The elders questioned her, the people whispered, but she did not care. She had changed. She had learned. She touched the scars on her hands and remembered the lessons burned into her bones. Fire, hunt, climb, survive, respect. And she knew one truth above all. The alien girl who defied the rules was gone. In her place stood someone new, someone who carried a bond with a human, a bond stronger than fear, stronger than lies, a new bond that would shape her life forever.